There is a goose outside your window right now. And there is a non-zero chance it knows exactly who you are. Not your smell, not your height, not your jacket color, your face, specifically, individually, permanently. And it has already decided what category you belong in. In 2005, researchers at Princeton ran a simple experiment. Two people would approach the same nesting Canada goose, same location, same time of day, same clothes. One person always walked past calmly, said nothing, did nothing. The other always walked directly toward the nest, stepped too close, interrupted. After 5 encounters, the geese treated these two humans as completely different threats. The calm person could stand 2 meters from the nest without triggering any response. The intrusive person triggered a full alarm from 40 meters away. The goose wasn't reacting to what it could currently see the person doing. It was running a prediction based on a stored identity. That is not instinct. That is not conditioning to a uniform or a smell. That is individual facial recognition with long-term threat modeling. The mask test. The researchers needed to be sure it was actually the face, so they ran the mask test. The intrusive researcher wore a neutral mask during all their disruptive visits, then returned with no mask, their own face visible. The goose ignored them completely. Then the calm researcher put on that same mask. 40-meter alarm response, immediate. The goose had attached the threat classification to the mask's face pattern, not to the person's body, movement, or smell. Switch the face, switch the response. The face was the identity. Your file is already open. Here is what this means in practical terms. Every time you have walked past a pond, a park, a parking lot where geese live, you have been scanned. Your face has been processed against their existing database. If you've never appeared before, neutral file opened, behavior observed, initial classification assigned. If you've appeared before, your file retrieved, your history replayed, your current behavior measured against your record. And that record does not decay. Researchers studying urban Canada goose populations found that individual geese maintained distinct, differentiated responses to specific humans who regularly appeared in their territory. Responses that remained consistent across months and full seasonal cycles. A goose that a maintenance worker harassed in March will respond to that same face in October with the same alarm threshold it developed in spring. It hasn't forgotten. It hasn't softened. The file is exactly where it was. The 97% problem. In 2024, researchers at Flinders University in Australia published a paper with an uncomfortable finding. They built a facial recognition AI specifically designed to identify individual grey-lag geese, a close relative of the Canada goose, using the unique pattern of features on their beaks and faces. The system achieved 97% accuracy. 97%. The same benchmark used to evaluate human facial recognition systems used in airports and security infrastructure. But then they did the behavioral test. They placed life-size printed photographs of individual geese in front of flock members. Geese approached photos of their bonded partners. Geese hissed at photos of themselves because they had never seen their own face in a mirror and registered it as an unknown individual. The facial recognition wasn't a quirk, it was the operating system of goose society. Geese form multi-year pair bonds, multi-year social hierarchies, multi-year rivalries and alliances within flocks that can number in the hundreds. None of that is possible without the ability to track individual identities across time. The face is how they track identity, which means the face is how they track you. Your neighborhood's threat database. Now think about the goose that lives near your office, the one in the parking lot, the one by the pond on your running route. That goose has a mental file on every human who regularly moves through its territory. Not humans in general, specific individuals. The woman who walks her dog every morning at 7 a.m. Logged. Predictable. The dog is assessed separately. Combined threat level. Low. The teenager who threw something at the pond 2 summers ago. Logged. Dangerous. Elevated alert threshold. Has not been forgotten despite 2 winters passing. The person who occasionally leaves bread near the water. Logged. Positive association. Can be approached. May approach unprompted. You have been categorized. The category was assigned the first time you appeared. It has been updated every time you've appeared since. The part that changes everything. The memory doesn't stay with the individual goose. Goslings learn the social map of their environment not from their own experience, but from watching adult reactions. A gosling hatched this spring has never had a negative interaction with anyone, but within its first summer, it has already assembled a threat profile of your neighborhood's humans, built entirely from observing which direction the adults' heads turn, how the flock shifts, and which face was visible when an alarm call happened. The specific people who were classified as dangerous before it was born are already in its database. Behavioral inheritance, not genetic, not instinct, transmitted face by face, flock member to flock member, generation to generation. The goslings that hatched in the pond near your house this spring, they already know things about your street. If someone who walks that street caused trouble near that pond 2 years ago, those goslings already have that face on file. They inherited the grudge. What exactly is the difference? This raises a question that researchers have been reluctant to fully confront. If geese are maintaining persistent, multi-year, individually specific social records of the humans in their environment, if those records are accurate enough to enable 97% individual identification, if those records are being transmitted to new generations through behavioral observation, then what exactly is the goose doing that is categorically different from what we do? We recognize faces. They recognize faces. We remember who has wronged us. They remember who has wronged them. We teach our children to be cautious around certain people. They teach their goslings the same thing. The difference isn't the capability. The difference is that we assumed they couldn't do it. What the aggression actually is. The Canada goose is not a beloved animal. It is the animal people complain about in parking lots, the animal that holds up traffic, the animal with the aggression problem. But here is what the aggression actually is. It is the behavioral output of a sophisticated threat assessment system running on years of accumulated individual social data. The goose that charges you in the parking lot isn't malfunctioning. It retrieved your file. It ran the threat model. It made a decision based on stored information about you specifically. And if you've never done anything to that goose, if your file is genuinely clean, it will stand down. The geese that attack without apparent provocation almost always have a history with that person, or a person whose face pattern matched a threat profile closely enough to trigger the response. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. A test you can run. Find a goose you see regularly. Make deliberate, consistent eye contact for 3 seconds every time you pass. Then look away and continue walking without changing your pace. Do this for 2 weeks. By the end of the second week, that goose will respond to you differently than it responds to everyone else who walks the same route. Not because you fed it, not because you threatened it, because you made yourself individually legible to it. You gave it enough consistent behavioral data to build a stable file. And once the file is stable, the relationship is stable. The goose won't ignore you. It will know you. The question is what it decides to do with that. The version of your neighborhood you've never seen. The pond near your house has been there for years. The geese on it have been there for years. They have been watching everyone who passes, building files, updating records, transmitting what they know to the next generation. There is a version of your neighborhood that you have never had access to. A version where every regular human has a reputation, a history, a threat classification. Where social memory stretches back years and passes forward to birds that haven't hatched yet. The geese have been living in that version the whole time. You're just now finding out you're in it.